Ah.
A tale of Bantu folklore. Or Bantu truth.
Handed down from generation to generation.
By the Makonde people. My mother's people have a story of a little boy. She lived her childhood in Tanzania amongst the Bantu tribes till the day came she married my father and came with him to Haiti. Her people, the Makonde, lived in what is known as Tanganyika. Tanga, sail, Nika, wilderness.
Sail in the wilderness.
Yes.
At the heart of the Bantu is the cult of the dead. The dead can speak with those still alive in many ways.
While they sleep.
Through dreams or nightmares.
And we can speak to them if we know how. If there is some offense, they can bring destruction, or perhaps the final judgment for a sin never told.
They are very close to the place of the dead.
When I was a little girl, my mother told me this story. This tale of a young, lonely boy. An orphan he was.
His parents died. We do not know how, at such a young age, that this boy was known to be the child with no parents.
His name was Ajani.
One who takes possession after a struggle.
In his loneliness and tears, Ajani would go to the graves of his parents, located far in the woods, and he would cry for them to come back to him. But they never could, because they could not hear him yet.
Why? Because they were dead.
And he did not know yet how to call them.
With passion.
With fear.
With vengeance!
The children of the village would torture this boy. They would beat him. They would mock him.
They would trip him as he passed by. They would spit on him and cover him with dust and dirt.
They would tease him and taunt him and remind him that he was
Terribly.
Horribly.
Horribly. Inescapably.
alone.
When Ajani went hunting, he was always successful. Yet, on his way back to his village, they would pounce and they would steal the rats he had trapped in his cages.
Ajani would fish in the river near the village, and coming home with only enough food for him to eat, they would take even that. They would find him on the streets or hiding in the brush, and they would taunt him with the truth of his parents.
You've no father or mother. Your parents have gone to the place of the dead.
And Ajani would cry, for this was true, he thought.
He was hungry.
He was in pain.
And he was very much alone.
Each night, he would go to the grave of his parents and cry and beg for help. Yet, they never would, because he still did not know yet how to call them.
Then one dark night, on his way back to the village from a long day out to catch food, Ajani had nothing to show for his efforts.
And yet
the
boys were waiting.
They demanded his food.
He said, I have none.
They demanded his animals.
He said, I have none.
They demanded his fish.
He cried and said, I have none.
Then they demanded the one thing they knew they could take from him.
His life.
They beat this poor boy.
They dragged him by his hair into the mud.
They kicked, they struck him with sticks and rocks. And when they were done, they beat and dragged and kicked and struck more still.
Then the boys laughed at Ajani and left him there, waiting to die. But he did not die. He now understood finally how to call his mother and father.
The next morning, when the boys all awoke, they were marveled to see Ajani beaten, bloodied, and still alive. Ajani told them,
In the night, the spirits came and told me to take all of you with me on the hunt.
But that you must wait until the sun goes down.
That night he met them at the foot of the woods where his parents' bodies lay. and led them through the trees to where the graves were.
They laughed and asked the Johnny where the animals were, but he said,
Sit and be still. Do not run, even if you see something coming.
He then went a short distance away, and turning to them and the graves, sang this song. Father, Father, come out of your grave. The raiders come.
They treat your child like the meanest slave.
The raiders come.
I trap my rats with wearable toil.
The raiders come.
They rob me of all my hard-won spoil.
The raiders come.
You've no father or mother, the young boy said.
The raiders come.
Your parents have gone to the place of the dead.
The ground above Johnny's father's grave split. The boys looked at this and jumped up to run. Johnny told them.
No, sit down. It's all right.
The boys did, and all kept warily clapping along. Out of the open hole, a large snake came slithering out and coiled itself at the foot of the father's grave.
the boys looked at this in fright and began to run again, but Johnny said,
No! Remember what I said. The hunt will soon start.
He then went to where his mother lay and sang again, calling to her.
The ground split open, and out came another snake and coiled itself in his mother's grave.
Then Johnny went between them and looked at the other boys.
And sang once more.
Father, mother from Dead Man's Town.
The raiders come.
Come forth and swallow them down.
The raiders come.
Whose guard and rob me day by day.
The raiders come.
And rob me of all my lawful prey.
The raiders come.
You know father or mother, the young boy said.
The raiders come.
Your parents have gone to the place of the dead. Then the snake uncoiled and rose up deadly in the air and swallowed each of the boys whole, before slithering down the holes and disappearing into the graves. Johnny sang a song of thanks to his mother and father, who finally heard him, and he returned to his village, never to be alone again.